I must say that I don't understand why it seems more and more common, especially since the BLM riots, for so many people who identify as Democrats, liberals, or leftists, which I consider myself as, to immediately side with the criminals rather than the victims of the criminals when an incident happens, provided the criminals aren't straight, white, cisgender, and/or Christian. They either side with the criminals or they give extra support to the demographic that the criminals belong to. The more heinous the crime, the more support they give to the demographic that committed the crime. Shoplifting? They're desperate and downtrodden, even if they're stealing electronics and designer purses. Corporations, as well as small businesses, cannot be victims. No matter how much money a business loses, it's insignificant in the larger scope of things. That if a business shuts down as a result of the shoplifting, it's their own fault. And then when they do shut down, they're hurting marginalized communities, and shame on them, especially if it creates a food desert or a pharmacy desert. Physical assault and other violence? They're part of a marginalized group and live in poor communities, even if they're wearing the most expensive clothing and products that money can buy. If they feel disrespected, it gives them an excuse for a whole bunch of behavior. Harassment and threats? They themselves feel threatened or disrespected. Vandalism? Property has no intrinsic value. There are no victims when there is vandalism, and it should never be compared to violence against another person. It should never be considered a serious problem at all. In my opinion, these sorts of attitudes about crimes are why so many cities across the United States are crime-ridden and unsafe. It's not just that people feel unsafe, it's that they are unsafe. It's not just that businesses feel like they're struggling, they are struggling. Sure, one can change their attitude about these things so they can pretend that the problems aren't as bad as they really are, but it doesn't actually change anything except whether the problems are viewed as bad enough to actually do anything about. Unfortunately, we live in a low-trust society, and it wasn't always that way. Japan is an example of a high-trust society. I hope we're able to work towards that kind of goal. Now, I don't like Trump's answers to these problems. The notion of militarizing cities is a really bad idea. I think he could do something quite different. But you know he's not going to, and things are going to get pretty nasty. It's funny to me that so many people on the right, so many conservatives try to claim that they're for small government, and yet they have no problem with these things that Trump is doing. Anyway, my local Fred Meyer is not closing because of feelings. It's closing because it's no longer financially sustainable to stay in business. Just saying.